Need to get some cooler background things to
Gotta get
match the Flanagan's Cup. Got like a Florida State hat.
Well, you should hide that. That team. Don't even get me started.
What is up? Welcome to my poorly decorated living room with the Jets, the Florida State hat behind. It's a rough life around here. This is the Awesemo Betting Show presented by BetMGM, and very happy to have you with us. Pete McCarthy here. We got Ben Rasa at JazzRazDFS, and it's overreaction week here, Ben. This is the week where you can clean up a little bit and maybe not fall into the trap that the Saints are going to win the Super Bowl.
Definitely week 2. Everybody gets wild. There's hot takes flying. So I'm excited to get into it because we've seen these teams, but we've only seen them once. And that is just one data point of what will be many over the season.
And today's show, of course, brought to you by our new sports betting podcast, Betting You. Ben and Matt Kajeski have you covered with everything college football betting as they take you through each conference and the best bets on the board. Betting You is available now wherever you get your podcasts, with new episodes dropping every Wednesday. Feel free to get involved in the chat. We'll mix it up with you and take your comments, get in there back and forth on the YouTube channel. Give a like, subscribe, the obvious stuff that every good YouTuber has to say quite a few times over the course of the show. But we got 45 minutes to dive through this entire slate. We're not in bye week central yet, so we got a lot of games to get to. So let's start to dive in, though. Let's just overarching. I mentioned the overreaction week. I mean, how do you play this, Ben? How much do you factor what we saw in week 1 when you start getting into these next week of games versus the opinions that we had of these teams going into the season?
Yeah, I try to. It's a fine line because you see things that you maybe didn't think were going to happen, and you think, all right, I got to audible. Maybe this team isn't that good. But at the same time, if you've done your research in the offseason and prepared, you don't want to trash everything that you kind of have planned for just because of one game. So there are some teams on this slate that we're going to talk about that I'm not ready to abandon just yet, even though I'll admit I was a little shaken by what we saw in week 1 with some of them.
Sometimes you have to be a little shaken. Now, from what I saw, there are 4 games where we saw the spread move about a field goal from prior to last week's games where they were on the board. So those are your overreaction games, and I'll tell you right now, I'm taking the bait on at least one of them. Okay. But we'll hit that coming up. We'll also get into some of the top player props that we like in the mix today as well. So we'll start out with the Patriots, the Jets. It's a new era of this rivalry. Is it Tony Eason, Ken O'Brien, Chad Pennington, Tom Brady, kind of the edge for the Patriots there? No, now it's Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. Patriots favored by 6 at the Meadowlands. The Jets, I was at the game last week against Carolina. They were outplayed all throughout, really didn't keep that very close. What do you make of this game, Ben, as we start to take a look at how this is all setting up on this Sunday?
Yeah, you got a pedestrian total, I believe lowest on the board at 43. So that's one thing I looked. And then, it's the classic. You've got a road favorite in a divisional matchup. That's always a little difficult to stomach, to be honest. It is the Patriots and they are the Jets. So I get that part of it. For me, like I said, it feels about right. I think it'll be a pretty slow, methodical game. My question to you is kind of with New England, Belichick, if you fumble, your life is over. But I still think that someone like, Damian Harris is going to be really involved today. So I looked at him. His rushing yards prop is at 75.5. If they keep it on the ground a lot, I could see a 21-14, a 21-17 type game. I do kind of lean under here. It's hard to lay 6 though in a total this low.
I like the over in this game. And if you look at some of the numbers here, look, the Jets secondary is terrible. We saw Sam Darnold tear them up. I don't think Sam Darnold was touched last week except for a fumbled snap. So I think there's an opportunity for Bill Belichick to let Mac Jones air it out a little bit, feel good about himself. I like James White. If you watched the Jets last week, Christian McCaffrey caught about 400 balls out of the backfield. I don't see why the Patriots couldn't have success doing that. I understand James White's not quite Christian McCaffrey, but I like James White over 3.5 receptions in this game. And I do think you see some points. The Jets, they do have the ability to score a little bit, but their defense is horrendous. They have no secondary, no pass rush. So I know it's the lowest over under on the board, but Sometimes that's where you actually can hit the over, right? We just saw the game on Thursday night with the Giants in Washington. Nobody expected fireworks in that game, and it was over by, a couple minutes into the second half, it seemed.
Sad. Yeah, I mean, listen, they got to protect Wilson. He's more willing to sling it, I think, than Mac Jones. Mac Jones looks like he's got a game plan that they want to implement. Don't turn that ball over. Lean on the James White, Harris in the backfield, maybe a shot here or there. So it would go a long way for the Jets if they can make this competitive. I'm a little doubtful. As a New Yorker, I'm a little skeptical of this team.
I'm skeptical as well, which is why I like New England. I have no problem giving up the 6 points. Okay. I understand what you said at the top, but we'll talk about this in other games. Division matchup on the road. You don't want to be giving a ton of points up, but not worried about it here. The Jets are as bad as they've been in the past. Maybe they'll win 3 games this year, but that is not a team ready to compete in any way, shape, or form. Next up on the slate, this is one of the big overreaction games as far as I can see it. The Denver Broncos are a 6-point favorite on the road in Jacksonville. Now, you've probably seen this stat somewhere by now. Teddy Bridgewater is the Vegas Slayer. 36-13-1 against the spread over the course of his NFL career. My question would be, though, how many times has Teddy Bridgewater been a 6-point favorite on the road? Kind of a little different ball game here in Jacksonville.
No doubt about it. Yeah, Jacksonville probably on the short list. Maybe they start the list of just most disappointing efforts. They were blown out by what I think is the worst team in the league. Urban Meyer didn't look good. Trevor Lawrence didn't look good. Nothing really looked good. So now you've got Denver, who dismantled the Giants. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that you want to back Jacksonville. I do think that Bridgewater could be pretty busy here. Tyrod Taylor had success. I like the weapons on the outside. Judy goes down, but Sutton is working back. He's only going to get healthier. Tim Patrick, the tight ends. You've got Melvin Gordon in the backfield. I think I'm looking more at Denver, either a team total over or Bridgewater over, someone to really have success. I don't trust Jacksonville's defense at all after seeing what Houston did to them.
Well, the weather will be something to monitor in this game. There is some rain in the forecast, so that'll be something Florida in the hours ahead. Keep an eye on as far as that goes. But one thing that you could check out, and it is free at Awesemo.com today, is the Awesemo betting model. Now, this is where the Awesemo betting model, one of the big plays today is Jacksonville getting those 6 points. And if you look on that, it takes out the VIG, the whole 9 yards. It says you're getting a 12.6% return on your bet if you take Jacksonville in this game, which is one of the higher numbers on the board. And look, 6 points is a lot. Again, Denver was just on the road in New York. I mean, they're not quite a West Coast team, but in New York last week, now to Jacksonville. That's a tough swing. It's the Denver Broncos. They're not a very good team. I don't see this as a 6-point favorite. And this is one of those games that did move a lot over the course of last week, which to me is that overreaction. It's classic overreaction here.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're talking about a home dog. That's always very dangerous in Denver. I assume, I mean, I don't really think this is a huge deal, but I assume they probably just stayed. What do you think? Do you think they flew back and then flew back?
I didn't see what Denver did. I know the 49ers stayed east. I did look at that. I didn't check out what Denver did. I mean, it's a little different for the Broncos as it's not all the way across the country, but you're probably right. They probably chilled out somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah, this is a game, I think they can have success. If Jacksonville moves the ball, I think that's even better for what I'm looking to do. Because like I said, I kind of like Bridgewater to be pretty active here in the passing game. I like Denver to put up some points. I don't think, though, with the NFL, you got to be careful with some numbers like this. I have really no interest in laying 6 points on the road. I don't know if I can have the guts to take Jacksonville either. Maybe a prop here or there.
And we have some questions in the chat that we see there at YouTube, and we'll certainly work our way back to that with Rome DMV. So, again, you got any questions? You want to hit us up? You want to get involved in the conversation? You want to say we're wrong about something? Line it all up in there. Throw down some comments. Of course, like, subscribe, so you can keep up with all of our shows, DFS offers, giveaways, and much more here at Awesemo. There is a ton going on. We've got tons of DFS content coming up the rest of the day. Get you ready for your DraftKings, your FanDuel, the whole 9 yards there as we hit the spreads right here on the Awesemo betting show, which will be coming your way every Sunday morning for the entirety of the season. Another AFC East division clash between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Some chance of rain in Miami as well. Look, it's going to be hot. These are always one of the games, one of the cities you have to keep in mind early on in the season. It's in Miami, 88 degrees. Doesn't scream super hot to you, but it is humid. It ain't Buffalo weather. and the Bills, a team that didn't quite show up week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Definitely disappointing. This is one where I'm not going to overreact. The Bills are going to be a good team. I don't think the Steelers are particularly good. We'll get to them though. I'm going to buy in here. Maybe this is a little trappy. It's funny. First 3 games in this, road favorites, but I'm going to lay the points here. I like the Bills. I think they can really clamp down here. I expect a much crisper performance from Josh Allen. I think Diggs gets involved in a big way. I rarely do this, but I saw Eitan in chat. So just for him, Diggs, first touchdown, 9-1. I rarely sprinkle on outrageous props like that, but I do think he's going to have a massive target share today. Miami really could use Will Fuller. I like Waddle as a player. I think they'll be okay, but better team in Buffalo. I will lay the points here.
Well, we'll find out a little bit about this Bills offensive line. They really struggled, and granted, it's against Pittsburgh, one of the top pass rushes in all the NFL, but had a rough go of it there. I like getting the extra points here. Again, divisional matchup, home dog, and you're getting the hook too. I mean, it's 3.5. That's always one of the big half points that you look at. I don't think this is going to be a particularly low scoring game. I think you see some points here. And, it's about time for Tua Tagovailoa to show what he could do a little bit. Not exactly a banner performance last week against New England. And I think you see a little bit of progress from Tua, at least today. And, again, these divisional games, you have to keep an eye on them because these coaches, they're going all offseason studying 3 teams to really find a wrinkle, an edge somewhere in there. And Miami, one of the best coached teams in the league, in my opinion. So yeah. I do like Miami here getting that extra half point. That's big to me.
Man, yeah, I tell you what, if Buffalo goes to 0-2, I'm not going to say abandon ship, but that would be a big deal for them. They can't be messing around.
Yeah, I like Miami to win the game. I do like Miami outright. Okay. There are 4 dogs that I looked at on the board that I like today, and they're not 10-point underdogs I'm giving you here, but I'll give you 4 teams that I think can pull out an upset today. Let's move on to the Niners, to the Eagles. Niners favored by a field goal on Philadelphia. I'm interested to see how much of a factor Trey Lance is in this game. He had the finger injury, didn't do much in week 1, but I do think that he gets more involved, and it sounds like he's going to get more involved this time around.
Weird game. The Niners were in full control. I don't think they had to show much, particularly in the second half. They kind of geared down. So maybe we see a more dynamic offensive attack. I want to see what Sermon gives them. Looks like he's going to be active. And I agree. I'd like to see what kind of wrinkles Trey Lance can give. But on the other side, I know it was Atlanta, but I really think that Jalen Hurts is going to be a problem. The way he's going about using his legs is really just he's one of those guys now. And it's very hard to defend. I think we're going to see a good performance from him. I know the Eagles are a questionable team, a lot of moving parts. I'm a big fan of Devontae Smith. I'm a fan of Rager. I'm the only person left on that island. I think they're going to have some success offensively. San Francisco's a very good team. I respect the defense, but I respect Jalen Hurts. I like his props, and I actually lean to the Eagles in the game.
Well, how about, so you have the rush line for Hurts at 51.5. And I heard you talk last week with Eitan, and that's something that you're looking to hit week after week after week. I imagine it moved up from last week, the rushing yards total. You're still in on that?
I am, because this is a guy that he's got dual threat ability in the sense that they will design some runs for him. So you're going to get some added volume, and he's very comfortable when the play breaks down. I feel like we saw this with Daniel Jones, Pete, when you get a really serious pass rush, it almost helps these rushing props because they're flushed out so often that Jalen Hurts will be more prone to take it and run. Whereas if he has a really soft pocket, why would he run? And I think in a game like this, it is set up perfectly for him to really run a lot.
And how about the passing yardage over under here with Jalen Hurts? I can't tell you, if you check out Awesemo, you got all the player prop bets there that you could see where you might have an edge. And I'll give you one. It likes Jalen Hurts over 229.5 passing yards today.
I don't mind that. I think it's a pretty fair number. Certainly if they fall behind, he's going to have to do everything for this offense. So healthy total. I respect San Francisco, but I think this is one the Eagles are going to show up. I think they're a pretty good team, actually.
An NFC East team is pretty good.
Pretty good. That's as good as we can give them.
Wow. That's a big division. Statement. That's a hot take in that division. Yeah,
I know. That's winning the division by 3 games if you're pretty good.
I'll tell you, I'm not as optimistic on the Eagles. And I do like San Francisco. They were so banged up over the course of last year. It's easy to forget how good that team is, how terrific that front 7 can be. And as you said, against the Lions, they had that game running away. That's not a game where you look at the scoreboard and you say, oh, the Lions kept it close. Maybe San Francisco's not that good. That was a dominant effort from the San Francisco 49ers. Another guy to keep in mind as well is what kind of role Trey Sermon will have. Was inactive last week, their third-round pick, but is expected to be active today. Of course, one of the biggest edges you can find in sports betting, always shopping to find the best line. They change by the minute. They could vary greatly depending on which book you're using. So check out Awesemo's Odds Shopper to find the best line available on the game or the player prop you are betting on and give that edge to help you beat the house. Head on over to oddsshopper.awesemo.com. We compile the best bets available for game lines, player props, and player and team futures. It's all updated in real time. Even better, Odds Shopper now has expected win percentage and return on investment included for NFL and MLB player props, derived straight from Awesemo's DFS projections, so you can find out the best edges betting player props. And we gave you one before, Jalen Hurts, that over on 229.5 passing yards. Fun matchup in Indianapolis. The Rams looked amazing on Sunday Night Football. Really, but this is a game where I don't think that it's an overreaction to say, boy, the Rams look scary, because you had to think it was going to be a different look with Matthew Stafford. All of a sudden, you have a guy with a cannon arm mixed into this offense that has had success over the years with the likes of Jared Goff. I think you really do have to look at what happened on Sunday night against a good defense in the Chicago Bears and say, boy, the Rams could be a scary football team.
Yeah, I mean, the West is ridiculous. It's insane, these teams. I respect the Rams a lot. Yeah, you pair Stafford with Sean McVay and all the weapons. It's going to be difficult, but I got to ask you, because I don't know anymore. Are the Colts awful, or are they okay, or what? Because
I don't think they're good. I'm not huge on Carson Wentz at this point in his career. I understand that maybe they're not as bad as we thought they might be at certain times in training camp when everybody was going down, but I don't see this as a good football team. Were you impressed by them last year?
No,
they made the playoffs. They have a good defense, but that's about it.
Yeah, I thought that Wentz would really help. I expected more. This is where classic maybe overreaction. I thought they were live to win in week one. They did not look good. Pittman was a borderline no-show. Now him and Paris Campbell are a little banged up. I'm not saying they need to win today, but they're only a 3.5 point dog at home. This is a game they should be in. And you look at it, I'm just not sure where this offense remains. So I have some interest. I want to look. And Chap brought up Naheem Hines' prop at 3.5 receptions. He does look like someone that Wentz is a little comfortable going to, particularly if they're trailing. So if you think that game script is the Rams get up and Wentz is dropping back, 35, 40 times, I have no problem getting plus 115 on over 3.5 catches for Hines.
I agree with that. I do think that the Rams, they're going to be explosive. Carson Wentz and the Colts are not keeping up with that offense based on what we saw on Sunday Night Football and based on what we've seen over the years from the Los Angeles Rams. And again, now you have this over-the-top threat with what Stafford could do with his arm. Look, this doesn't bother me. I'll throw out another one of those things. It's always one of those big betting things, right? You have the West Coast team playing at 1 Eastern. We talked about some of these teams that have been out on the East Coast. Is that something that you factor in much at all if we're trying to find a way to like the Colts getting the 3.5?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely look at it. It's tough. I think with something like this, I'm more willing to bank on just personnel than the game itself. I'll be honest. I don't know what to expect out of the Colts. But I do think that a guy like Hines, and if you think the Colts are going to win, I would hit Jonathan Taylor's rushing prop because they want to run the ball as much as possible. I just don't know if that'll be possible today.
Okay, so next up, the Las Vegas Raiders coming off their big Monday night win on the Manning cast, getting it done depending on how you're taking that one in, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Two teams feeling good about themselves after week one. We do know one of the significant injuries, if you look at it that way, is Josh Jacobs is out for Las Vegas. Of course, he's a running back, so it doesn't do a whole lot in terms of the spread. Kenyon Drake steps in. He can actually catch a ball out of the backfield. This is a big spread, though. I understand it's in Pittsburgh, Steelers home opener. Fans are going to be frothy after the big win in Buffalo, but 6.5 points, that feels like a lot to be given up here for a Pittsburgh team that I think we're still trying to figure out exactly what they are. What they were the first half of last year or the second half?
Yeah, I know the defense is certainly going to travel, and that's going to cause some problems. They're missing now. The Raiders lost another guard. I worry about the protection, but at the same time, Pittsburgh's offense, it's got some pieces, but I still don't know exactly where Big Ben is at. I expect a much better game from Najee Harris today. I think they'll get him a lot more involved. They are at home. It's a short week for the Raiders. All of these things are concerning, but it is a big spread. You're spot on. That's a lot of points. So again, do I do this often? No, but maybe in a teaser, maybe in a parlay piece. I think Pittsburgh is going to win the game. I don't know if I'm looking to lay basically a touchdown, even 6.5, which is a good number. So may use it in some type of combination with another big favorite. Don't think I'm going to take this game straight up.
I agree with you on that. I think this place is an over game as well. When you look at the over-under sitting at 47, I do think you have some points. And we know, look, the Raiders do have some weapons offensively, and everyone can focus on Josh Jacobs being out. Look, if you watch him on Monday night, he's not a dynamic factor, unless they're up in a game pretty much. And you look at Waller, John Gruden called him, I think, the best receiver that he's had, maybe one of the best players that he's coached over the course of his career, which is kind of ludicrous when you look back at some of the players that John Gruden had with the Raiders, with the Buccaneers. But I think it goes to show just what a player he is. I mean, this is the guy who, tilted the matchup in a lot of ways on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, Waller is absolutely fantastic, but the Steelers are uniquely equipped, I think, to handle guys like that, to be honest. That defense is fantastic.
Even a tight end.
Yeah, I think they have some personnel that can really cause some problems. And the other thing, you put pressure. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you can, collapse the pocket, it's going to be very difficult for the Raiders to function.
All right. So Raiders, Steelers, we both like the Raiders in this game, getting 6.5 points, but not telling you to jump on that win line as far as that game goes. Bears and Bengals. The Bears did not look particularly good Sunday Night Football, taking on the Los Angeles Rams. The Bengals with a big Week 1 win over the Minnesota Vikings. I do think when you dive into that game, though, the Vikings outplayed Cincinnati throughout that game. So, sometimes you look at who won at the end of the day and you say, wow, what a win for Cincinnati. Go on the road, get it done against the Minnesota Vikings, but they didn't exactly outplay them there. We're lucky in some of the statistics they were able to look at after the fact. This is not a big spread, just 2.5 points. So you're basically looking at it and saying, who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to win here, Ben?
Yeah, I might have stepped on a landmine here already. I can feel it because I like the Bears in this game, but society, this spread is dropping like a rock. I see 1.5 in spots. All the money's coming in on Cincinnati. I know the Bears line is atrocious. I still think that defense will look a lot better. This goes back to what we were talking about. We both, I think the Rams are really good. And I think that we're going to see that, yeah, that was not a great performance by Chicago, but they played a much better team. Whereas I don't think the Vikings are that good at all. Cincinnati is able to get it done at home. I think the Bears at home will put a much better performance. I like Montgomery to be very active. I think everyone is overreacting to Cincinnati pulling out a game that I really wasn't that impressed, to be honest. So I'm going to go against the public, maybe like an idiot, but I'm going to still lay the 1.5.
I agree with you 1,000% on this. And look, the only thing worse than having a bad loss in Week 1 is having a bad loss in Week 1 on national television. Doing it in the game that everybody's watching on Sunday Night Football. Look, everybody's going to jump in on this. And I do think another thing to keep in mind with the Bears, let's say they are struggling today. Is today the day that Justin Fields takes over and gives them that big boost in the second half if Andy Dalton is faltering there? I mean, that's just something to keep in mind. I feel like you have a little bit of a safety harness here if you're the Chicago Bears. If you want to change the energy in the stadium because you're down 10 at the half, that could happen very quickly.
No doubt. I mean, they always have that. And if he doesn't come in, you got to figure that Dalton's playing pretty well. So you've got opportunities there. I just really don't think that Cincinnati's good. And Chap brought up Mixon. The one thing the Bears were able to do somewhat well was mitigate the run. They didn't need to run that much, but I think they'll have some success. They'll force Burrow to drop back, and he's a good player. But at home, this is just a different scenario. And I think the last thing I'll say real quick, if you switch these matchups, if Cincinnati had to go to the Rams in Week 1 and Chicago got the Vikings at home, I think the results would have been the same, to be honest, and we'd be talking about a completely different spread. But why? I think it's a matchup situation that you could take advantage of.
I agree with you 1,000% on that. This is the Awesemo Betting Show presented by MGM Bets. Get involved in the chat and you can ask us some questions. Just follow along with the show. You can see what games we're about to hit. Try to hit us up with some questions with the games that we haven't hit yet. I'm not going to work backwards. It gets too confusing. Texans and Browns. The Browns 12.5-point favorites here. And the Browns, they played legitimately well against Kansas City. They outplayed the Chiefs in that game. One of the key stats I always like to look at is just simply yards per play. The Browns outgained the Chiefs 8.2 yards per play to 6.5. So they deserve that game in a lot of ways. And look, Patrick Mahomes, he's an evil man sometimes and can just, rip things away from you. Houston, as we talked about, maybe the worst team in the league, coming off a big win. But it's not like this line has moved in a way where people are overrating the Texans. You're looking at 12.5 points for a non-explosive, to me, Browns offense.
Yeah, I think people realize that the Browns can't be messing around here, that Houston, they took advantage. They did what they should do against just a garbage team in Jacksonville. I don't have a ton to say here. I think if you're Houston, you want to slow the game, don't turn the ball over with Tyrod and see what you can get. I think Cleveland will be the most popular survivor pick. I think that's warranted. I think there'll be a popular teaser piece. I think that's warranted. I'm not going to lay almost 2 touchdowns, though, just because this game could be similar to what we saw with the Niners. It could be in control, and then you see the final score, and they win by 8 points.
And this is what the Browns do, right? This is where if you think that they are going to win this game easily, well, you're looking at Nick Chubb, you're looking at all those runs, and this is a game where both Chubb and Hunt could end up being in that optimal showdown lineup on DraftKings, or wherever you want to look at it. They're going to run the ball. They're not looking to put a team away by 40 points. It's not the way they really operate here. So look, I'm confident Cleveland's going to win. I'm not telling you, go ahead and take Houston plus 525, but I think you're looking at an under. I think you're looking at Houston covering this 12.5 points. And I think you're looking at Tyrod Taylor. He's not going to throw the game away. He's not going to make big mistakes. So you're not getting, that defensive touchdown and that huge turnover, in my opinion, from the Cleveland Browns defense. This is why, I jump on Houston. I really like this. And if you check out the Awesemo betting model as well, they also like Houston. It also likes Houston to cover this game. So it's not one that you feel good about. You never want to pick a football team that you just think sucks because we've all done it. You watch the doors get blown off in the first quarter, but the Browns are not that team to me. I remember Odell Beckham Jr. is not playing in this game either. That is not an explosive offense that is putting up 21 points in the first quarter.
No doubt. I think we'll see. One quick thing I'll throw in. I think Ingram is due for a very quiet day because when they fall behind, he is not the guy that's going to be on the field. They will go to Lindsey. They'll go to David Johnson.
Get ready to turn big plays into paydays. We have a new offer with BetMGM that you should be taking advantage of if it's available in your state. If you're a new BetMGM user, all you have to do is deposit at least $10 into BetMGM using the link in the description of this video, and you'll get 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And it's a good time to get 3 free months. You've got NFL, we've got baseball playoffs coming up, and the NBA is going to be starting up as well. I mean, this will take you through almost Christmas. You almost get to the Christmas NBA day. That's a long way. So 3 months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That is daily fantasy, season-long fantasy football, betting for all sports. New customers also start with a risk-free bet up to $1,000 upon deposit. Register now. Go all in on the action with the king of sportsbooks. This offer is valid in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Nevada, and New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia. Terms and conditions apply. That's a sweet deal, Ben.
It's a fantastic. You couldn't get a better deal. I'm not just saying that. 3 free months of Awesemo Plus is worth it on its own. And then you get a risk-free bet on top of it. So if you're looking to get in and, maybe you're new to sports betting, this is the type of advantage. This is the best spot you're going to get. The best bet you're going to bet is taking advantage of the promos that these sites are offering.
Next up, another divisional game, the Saints and the Panthers. I thought the Panthers were impressive against the Jets, much more impressive than the final score would lead you to believe with the 19-14 win. We know the headlines with the Saints. 8 assistant coaches are out due to COVID protocols. Marshawn Lattimore, their cornerback, is questionable. I'll be honest, Lattimore, I think, matters. I'm not worried about the coaching staff here. You get like 40 guys on the sideline. They'll be down 9 of them. Is that are you factoring that in at all? Because it's been such a headline over the course of the week.
No, I don't think it's a huge deal. I will say, I think Carolina is going to win the game. Slight upset here at home. I'm with you. I thought they played better than that score showed. They're a solid team. I think Darnold is better than people think coming off the disaster that is the Jets. Chad has mentioned Christian McCaffrey. Yes, he's going to be extremely active in the rushing and passing game. He had 9 targets, caught all 9 last week. I don't see why any of that would change. I think the big question I want to ask you is, what do you think Jameis is going to do in a game where he's actually pushed a little bit?
Yeah, I like the under on his passing yards, and it's pretty high. It's a 242 and a half passing yards here. And even if they're playing from behind, I see a tough time with him matching that. We thought Marquez Callaway could do some things, and he was relatively quiet in week 1. I'm kind of interested in, what the weapons are going to be around Jameis as they wait for Michael Thomas to come back. So I wouldn't say that I'm jumping on the Panthers to win the game. I like that bet. I like that pick. But I certainly like and very comfortable getting the 3.5 points. Divisional game at home. How about for you, for Jameis? I mean, considering that he exploded onto the scene the way that he did last week against Green Bay, it's easy to say, hey, the Saints got their next Drew Brees. They're ready to go. It's Sean Payton this whole time. Are you that confident in Jameis after that?
No, I think that we'll see maybe volume increase and efficiency clearly is going to decrease. The Packers were just a no-show. We're going to find out about the Saints, but the Panthers defense will be ready. I think that, there's still serious doubts on the outside. Callaway, Harris, they're fine players, but I want to see exactly what happens. I do think Kamara will be busy. There's no doubt both these running backs are absolutely fantastic.
And one thing I'll throw out about Jameis Winston, this is not a guy who started 10 games in his career, and then we're seeing him in a different situation. He couldn't beat out Taysom Hill for this job a year ago. So, the idea that he's the savior or is going to be this guy day after day after day, I don't see it. We have a lot of evidence of who Jameis Winston is as a quarterback in his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Next up, Minnesota, Arizona, another 3.5 point spread here. Arizona's on top. This was a game that I stared at for a very long time, trying to figure out where to go, because Arizona was so impressive last week against Tennessee. They were able to push the ball downfield and really demolish that team on the road. Now they're at home against a Minnesota team that, as we mentioned, did lose to Cincinnati, but we didn't like the way the Bengals played there. I thought the Vikings outplayed them all the way. And the Vikings are banged up in this game, Ben. So this isn't one where you can look at the data and you gotta, this is more of an art to figure this one out.
This is a tough game. And then you throw in, I have trouble with guys like Kyler, because when he's on, it looks like, how could any team stop this? It's impossible. But then at other times, I'm just like, this is a straight gimmick. This is the Wildcat. And when teams figure this out, Arizona's going nowhere. I kind of feel that about Kingsbury as well. So you saw the best version of it in week 1. I'm not even going to pretend to know what's going to happen here. Clearly going to be a popular DFS game. Not one on my card, though. If you have a play, more power to you. Pass for me.
Yeah, Everson Griffin, Anthony Barr are out for Minnesota. Eric Kendricks is questionable. That'll be a big one to keep an eye on. Look, when I'm unsure, I think the rule is take the points. So I will very unconfidently go against one of the players I just irrationally dislike, is Kirk Cousins. Maybe it's not that irrationally. He turned down my Jets years ago and did it in kind of a snotty little way. But 3.5 points here. I mean, I'll look at Minnesota there, but I don't know how much of an edge you're necessarily finding in this particular game. As we mentioned, look, we're all in on the fantasy football as well. There's a whole YouTube channel for it. So if you love what we do for betting, for DFS, it's there for season-long fantasy football as well. So be sure to subscribe to that, subscribe to this betting channel, subscribe to the DFS channel, do the whole thing. And make sure you're keeping up on what's going on all the way across sports. We'll give you one edge over the course of the show. That's a win, right? So you can find the link in the description of this video. Go there, subscribe now, turn the notifications on, and enjoy what we have in store for fantasy football. It's nice to make money. It's better to beat the hell out of your friends sometimes in season-long football. So take the edges where you can get them. Fun game, I think, here. Tampa Bay, basically off a bye week, right? You play that Thursday to open up, and then you get to sit back, take a few days off. Tampa Bay at home, 12-point favorite in the Atlanta Falcons, who looked so terrible that first time around and really have been a putrid football team for a couple of years now. I'll tell you, I'm taking the points, and I feel terrible about it, but 12 points, again, that's a lot. It's a divisional game. And I don't think Atlanta is quite as bad as we saw week 1.
I'm with you. I'm taking the points as well. Divisional game. Still think they can move the ball. I was stunned, not that the Eagles won, but that Matt Ryan and that passing attack was very, very ineffective. I think you look at that, you look at Mike Davis, they'll be able to move the ball. And I think Tampa's secondary is wildly overrated. They have a good pass rush. You cannot run on them. Atlanta doesn't want to run the ball anyway. So do I think Tampa's going to win the game? Yes. Do I think Atlanta's good? Probably not. But 12 points in a game like this, I think they'll have enough success to keep this at least respectable.
Rome DMV saying, look, I'm smashing the Bucks anyway. 48-9.
That would be a problem.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, but to me, week 2 divisional game, Tampa Bay's defense was not impressive in week 1. And I think that had more to do with the Cowboys, which we'll get to. But I'm interested in what Kyle Pitts can add to this Atlanta offense. We didn't see it in week 1. The whole thing was a mess. I'm willing to throw that out the window for Atlanta and think they could at least hang around in this game with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I am on board with that. It hurts, but we're going to take those points.
Another tough game, and this is one that I, again, stared at for quite a long time before finally giving up the points. Seattle, Tennessee. Seattle's a 6-point favorite at home on Tennessee. This is one of those games where, they were like a field goal favorite until everybody saw what Seattle and Tennessee did a week ago, right? We didn't necessarily expect Seattle to blow the doors off of Indianapolis the way that they did. We didn't expect Tennessee to do so poorly against Arizona. And ultimately what the factor is for me is if you look what Kyler Murray did to this Tennessee defense, Russell Wilson and the Seattle offense is not the next one that you want to see because they could do some similar things. If Kyler Murray's beating you over the top, running a little bit, Russell Wilson could do a lot of those things as well. That was ultimately why I'm giving up the points here. I'll give up the 6 and I'll take Seattle. But this was one that I had to look at for quite a long time. Another key injury here to keep an eye on too. The Titans' Bud Dupree is questionable.
Tough game. Again, I feel like anything that touched the Colts, I just have no basis of what's going on. And Seattle played them last week. Tennessee was a straight no-show. I think they're going to be a good team. I still think they win the South. I don't know going into Seattle, though. This is a tough ask. I think I'm not breaking any news here. They got to get back to what made them great, which is running Derrick Henry a lot. You've got 2 absolute fantastic receivers on the outside. They were just punched first and they never really got up. They were playing from behind the entire game. If Seattle does that, I think it could be a repeat of week 1. This is the type of game I may look to see what happened in the first quarter and take a position live because I think how these teams start is very, very important.
Are you a believer in Julio Jones with Tennessee? I don't think at this point in his career, he's the difference maker that they're hoping he can be.
Yeah, I think that if it's utilized correctly, he can just be another weapon that can make A.J. Brown not have blanket coverage. That's the best. I don't think Julio is going to be some absolute playmaker that no one can contain. He would just be another data point that could help them, but they got to get their, they just look sloppy all around. Just a really bad performance to start the year.
All right, 2 more games to go. And these are the 2 games that I cannot wait to watch today. The first will be the later game, Cowboys, Chargers. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, so impressive in that Thursday night game in Tampa Bay. Could have easily won that game. The over-under is screaming up there at 55. I'll tell you, I not only like Dallas to cover the 3.5, I like them to win this game plus 150 on the road in LA. I don't think the Chargers were very impressive against Washington last week. And even if you say, well, they scored 20 points against that defense, Daniel Jones kind of ripped a little bit of a hole in that whole thing with what they were able to do offensively against Washington. So, again, you look at some of these things. I really like Dallas. I think Dallas is a solid, a terrific offense, and maybe the defense isn't as bad as it was a year ago.
Yeah, that's how I kind of want to ask him to throw it right back to you. Do you think Dallas can only win by outscoring teams at this point?
Yes.
Or do you think, because they lost. I only know a couple players on that defense. All the guys that I know, none of them are playing. They're all quite injured. So that makes me a little concerned. I think that, the combination of Gallup goes down. I don't think that's a huge deal. You've got Cooper, you've got CeeDee Lamb, you've got Zeke, you've got every weapon imaginable. Total 55. I know it seems very chalky. This seems like this game's played in the 30s. These teams are going to be scoring. I think both quarterbacks will have a lot of success. Don't have a lean on the game. I have no problem backing Dallas if that's where you go. But it's hard to think that these defenses can hold up against this type of firepower.
I think there's a lot of points in this game. What I am hoping Mike McCarthy has figured out, and maybe that's asking a lot of Mike McCarthy, you do not have to run Ezekiel Elliott into the line every single first down. And maybe it was just because Tampa's run defense is as good as it is in the opener, but hopefully they looked at that and said, hey, if we pass the ball, we can set up the run a little bit, kind of work opposite the way you think. And look, if you go ahead 2 scores, fine, pound Zeke over and over and over, but that can't be your offense in 2021. You cannot just pound Ezekiel Elliott into the line. They don't have the offensive line they had 3 years ago. Please let Dak Prescott put up some points in this game and make it happen. That's how they win. That's the path.
I do think that Zeke is in a nice bounce back spot. Tampa's front is impossible to run against, 59.5 rushing yards. If you think Dallas wins the game, I think he could have a lot more volume on the ground, and he should get there.
Of course, give us a like, subscribe, keep up with all of our shows, DFS offers, giveaways, much more. And once you subscribe, hit that notification button to get alerts when our shows do go live. So that's always a big favor for you guys to do for us. And again, we'll be here every Sunday morning with the Awesemo Betting Show. Sunday Night Football, fantastic matchup. Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are at home, a dog, getting 3.5 points. The Chiefs, as we talked about, I did not think they were their brand of impressive against Cleveland, and you could say they were rope-a-doping them and they just turned it on when they needed to. I love Baltimore in this game. Again, another dog that I like. I think Baltimore wins this game tonight. Ooh. Do you have that kind of optimism for Lamar Jackson's crew, especially after what we saw last week?
Short week, banged up. This team just seems like let me ask you, you kind of alluded earlier in the show, the Niners were just dismantled last year. They had no chance. Kind of feels like the Ravens are that this year so far. They cannot stay healthy. I worry about what is left. Stanley, some of these big time names. Lamar is out there by himself at times, and that is my number one concern because I like the Ravens as a team. I just don't know how healthy they are at this point.
Well, a lot of those injuries and the headlines you keep seeing over and over, they're running backs. And honestly,
that's true.
How much are you dropping down if you're throwing Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman and seeing what those guys can do? I understand it's a downgrade, but it's not a position that is vital. It doesn't even move the line when you lose maybe not a star running back, but a starting running back. So to me, I'm not going to worry too much about those particular injuries. Look, you mentioned Stanley, Marcus Peters. Those are guys that matter, especially Peters this week against this Kansas City offense. I do like McCole Hardman because I think the Chiefs are playing from behind, over 35.5 receiving yards for him. But 3.5 points, I feel good about that. I feel good about them winning this game. And look, Lamar Jackson does have the ability to win a game, and hopefully, look, he's just got to hold on to the football or, get a little lucky when the ball does hit the ground that his team jumps on it, unlike what we saw last week.
Definitely needs to clean it up. It's all there. I mean, Lamar was electric. His rushing yards total is going to be something I continue to bet. I bet it against the Raiders, and it got there. They can hang in the game. I think Stanley and the corners, that's going to put tremendous strain on the Ravens. So we'll see. The Chiefs are away from Arrowhead here. It's not a crazy game. It's a competitive spread, as the books say.
Well, let me give you this. So competitive spread. Do you not love the spread on this game? Would you be willing to give up 3.5 and take the Chiefs?
I'm not going to bet the Chiefs in this game. It's going to be Ravens or pass, but I don't know. I have not bet the Ravens yet in real life, and I don't know if I will.
All right. Lock it up. It is time for lock it up. What we got, Ben? What's your, if you got one bet today, maybe it's a parlay, you want to have some fun with it, lock it up for me.
No, we're not going to do any parlays. It's the first show with us. I don't want to get too crazy. I'm going to go back to Carolina. I think at home, this is a team that is really primed to take a step. The Saints look good, and they did, but I don't think they're that good. Carolina getting that 3.5, you mentioned a very key number. I'm going to take the plus 145 as well. I think they actually win the game. McCaffrey looks good. Lock it up. Carolina Panthers move to 2-0.
Now lock up the Dallas Cowboys. I love Dallas this week against the Chargers, plus 150. Take that one to the bank. The Awesemo Betting Show presented by BetMGM. We appreciate you being involved, getting in the comments. Look, this show will be available up until kickoff and beyond, but you probably wouldn't want it after the 1 o'clock kickoffs, maybe the 4 o'clock kickoffs. But you can comment throughout. We'll keep an eye on it and get back to you with some questions after the show. Hit us up there. And again, we appreciate you joining us. Be with you every Sunday morning, making it part of your routine. Grab some eggs, put some Baileys in the coffee, hang out with us, and get ready to make your picks for the day And then you can start loading up on the daily fantasy sports the rest of the day. The NFL Deeper Dive starts at the top of the hour on the Awesemo DFS channel, and then live before lock, taking up to the 1 o'clock kickoffs. For Ben Rassa, I'm Pete McCarthy. Happy betting.